Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Albury Academy podcast. We're going to be talking about parents' evenings. My name is Mr Burgoyne and I'm joined with my colleague Mr Savania.
Mr Burgoyne, what is the main purpose of parents' evenings at Albury Academy?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the purpose of parents' evenings is to provide this structured opportunity for parents to come along and have a conversation with the teachers, to meet the teachers as well, to discuss students' academic progress, behaviour and attitudes, social and emotional development, but also to look at next steps and how to get their child improving in that subject.
Brilliant. And why are parents' evenings so important for parents and students?
Yeah, they are really important because what they will do is they will improve communication between the families and the teachers. They'll help to develop and build a partnership between the families and the teachers. They'll also help to identify any issues or any concerns early as possible, that those concerns can be addressed. And it also gives the parents an opportunity to ask any questions or give any insights about their children to the teachers to help them in that classroom setting and essentially with their learning.
Brilliant. So you mentioned partnerships. How do parents' evenings help build stronger relationships between home and school?
Yeah, and that's a great question because actually lots of studies have been done in terms of parents' evenings and teachers and engaging with schools. And there is a strong and well documented correlation between parental engagement and student outcomes. Numerous studies have found that students whose parents are actively engaged with their education we find that the children tend to perform better, not only academically, but socially and emotionally as well.
So how often do these parents' evenings take place across the school year?
Yeah, so parents' evening, the official parents' evenings, they take place once every year for every year group.
That's great. So how would I go about booking these appointments? And is it in person, is it online, or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, it can be a combination. We use a system in school called EduLink, and I think most of our families will be quite familiar with that. They'll all have a login and they can use the app on their phone. We use it for achievement points where parents can log in and see how well their children are doing, for behaviour incidents as well. But we also use it for parents' evenings, so parents can log in and make their appointments online using the EduLink app. We completely understand that some parents won't be as tech savvy as perhaps others, and I can say that because I know some teachers aren't as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. So we say anybody who's got any sort of challenges or barriers with their technology, please just ring straight through to reception, and our reception team, they're trained in knowing how to make these appointments, so you can do it over the phone, and honestly that is not a problem.
Perfect, that's brilliant. And how long would I expect these parents' evenings to last?
So the parents' evening in itself runs from normally around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we then go on till 6:30. And each appointment with each member of staff, it lends itself to around about 5 minutes. You know, we don't stick to that. We try to, but if it's 3 or 4 minutes, or if it's 5 or 6 minutes, it's not necessarily a problem. We just want you to come along, and we want to be able to talk to you and your child about how well they're doing in that subject.
That's amazing. So is parents' evenings just for parents, or are students expected to attend too?
Yeah, interesting actually, because it is called Parents' Evening, so of course we would expect the parents to come along and see how their children are doing. But I would say nowadays there is an expectation for their children to come along as well. Even if the parent can't attend, I would encourage the children to come along and have those conversations with their teachers. But yes, absolutely, if the parent is there with the child, with the teacher, then everybody's involved in that conversation and they're all on that same page, again, to do with the learning of the child.
So in terms of that, I suppose it leads on well to sort of ask, well, what role do students actually play in their own progress?
Yeah, it's vital, you know, the children absolutely need to take responsibility for their learning. So if and when the students do attend, and I will say our parents' evenings historically, most of the children do attend, it allows them to be actively engaged in their learning journey.
And I suppose if they're actively engaged, how does it how does attending Parents' Evening help students to take more responsibility of their learning?
Absolutely. And yes, of course, they're going to hear about the academic progress, their behaviour in lessons and all those kinds of things. But what we're trying to do, if the child attends, it will absolutely increase awareness of the performance in that subject, which is, quite right. It will encourage their ownership of their own learning journey. It will also develop their communication skills. They'll be having these one-to-one conversations with their teacher, and they won't be competing against the rest of the class in that classroom setting. But it also develops a growth mindset. They will be able to see feedback from the teacher as a tool for growth and improvement, not necessarily a kind of a punishment or a behavioural issue, whilst being spoken to about improvement, and thus becoming more engaged, more resilient, and just generally more responsible for their own outcomes.
Amazing. So, on the night, what sort of information are teachers likely to share, and what sorts of conversations are they going to be having?
Yeah, and these conversations really essentially will be focused around four things. Of course, academic progress in that subject. How is that learning journey going? But they'll also want to know is how their behaviour and their attitude to learning is in the subject. And that might be to do with how well their child is engaging. Do they put their hands up? Are they answering questions? Are they sort of sitting back and allowing other children to answer the questions? Those kind of things. Their social and emotional development, how they're developing in their confidence levels, etc. But I would imagine that most of the conversations will finish with like next steps and support in trying to get their child to the next level, that next level of improvement in that subject area.
So you've mentioned things like behaviour and wellbeing. So is it okay for parents to ask questions around this generally across the school as well as within their subject? And if there are any concerns from the evening, how might they be followed up?
Yeah, so yes, absolutely. We definitely want parents to ask any questions relating to their child. It doesn't have to be about their academic progress in that subject. If they want to talk about well-being, any supportive needs that their child might have, yes, absolutely. We want to implement any appropriate support that we can in allowing their child to achieve their potential or exceed their potential, perhaps I should be saying. So, if you do have any issues as a parent, I would encourage that parent to contact the form tutor as the first port of call, maybe the year team. If it's a subject-specific issue or concern a parent might have, they go directly to the head of that subject, and it could be in terms of they might be interested in investigating whether their child might have any additional educational needs, and we have a SENCO, a special need coordinator in school that you can make contact with, and we'll gladly offer you any support or advice that we can offer.
That's amazing. I suppose my final question would be, what would you say to a parent who's never attended Parents' Evening before?
Yeah, please come along. We really appreciate that families are busy. These are busy times. There will be other siblings that perhaps families need to be looking after. There could be work commitments. Some of our families and children are carers. And finding that time can be difficult. But what we try and do is always give that month's notice, a good month's notice, so that, families are aware, they can pencil it into their diaries, put it onto their calendars. But based on what I said about, students performing better when there is parental engagement and involvement in their education, I would just simply encourage as many parents to attend if they can.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mr Burgoyne. And we look forward to seeing you at our next Parents' Evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.